We are now joined by Tara, the CRO at Optimove. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Very well.
Good.
Just had lunch, so the sugar is spiking, and we're ready to go for the rest of the
Ready to
day.
go. I love it.
Outstanding. So, for people who aren't familiar with Optimove, what is it you folks do?
Yeah, so we're the first customer-led marketing platform. So what we do is we put AI at the heart of what we do. So the CDP is at the very center, and then there's layers of orchestration. That's where that AI and the brain sits. And then we have a multi-channel execution where you can think of meeting your players at pushing into a mobile app or text messaging or email or wherever is best for them to meet.
Okay. Well, AI is very much at the core of this show that we're doing and the one that we did in London earlier in the year. We've been asking people how the recent rise or the popularization of it, because everyone's talking about it now, even if they're not in the sector, has affected you. By the sounds of it, you guys are kind of ahead of the curve and you've been working with it for some time.
Yeah, we're so glad to have everyone catching on, right? We've been doing this for over a decade. Like I said, the first is really utilizing the technology. So it's perfect for us because now everyone understands how sophisticated this is, how important it is, and how unique it is. You can't duplicate it.
So beyond the ML stuff that's been going on for quite a while, is there anything in the most recent kind of rise of the way the chat GPT and all the rest of it that is like interesting even to you and to your setup that's new and will change things potentially?
I think for us overall, AI as it becomes and matures, it gets better and better because it's that sort of the machine learning, the automatic intelligence. So you're learning everything as it goes. So for us, because we've been doing this for over a decade, we have so much data. So our AI continues to get better and better and better. And we have, a decade of doing that or so. So that is really helpful for us. Just to be able to learn and see what other people are doing, I think is helpful. But we're just excited to finally have it at the table and people talking about it so that when we have conversations, now they really understand the impact of it.
Yeah.
It's been a buzzword for a while, right?
Yeah.
Let's call
but
it.
You don't have to do the caveat and the big explainer as much.
Yes, exactly. Or people didn't really trust it before. I think prior to this sort of chat GPT and everything that's coming out, people didn't really trust it. Now that they're seeing it for their own eyes and they can put in and search it and see, it's like, wow, this really works. This is very powerful.
Gotcha.
That's really helping us a lot.
Well, there's been a report from Unity recently that suggested that more people are using games, more people are actually getting on board with mobile gaming and apps and whatnot, but they're maybe spending a little less than they were prior. What kind of challenges does that throw up for your sector, for what you guys do?
Well, it actually helps us a lot because that's one of the beauty of our brain of the AI orchestration level is because I can say, James, this is where if I sent you this, you would actually spend more. Or the reason why you're not spending is because you typically would buy during these times, or you like to purchase at this time of the day or this hour, whatever the AI piece of it will tell us. It's very interesting. So it actually helps us a lot because we can help, the gamers understand where their players are at.
Sure. It gives you the transparency, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really helpful.
Well, unfortunately, we've seen a bunch of layoffs recently within the tech sector. We've seen, obviously, Meta and Google and Microsoft and whatnot. Has that impacted your area at all? And if not, why not?
Yeah, no, it really hasn't. So our tool is mainly focused, there's also some acquisition, but the main part of it is really retention and growing your existing players and getting more from your existing base. And so when you think about it, when you think of the layoffs, this is because companies are reducing costs. And so when you're reducing costs, unfortunately that has to be affected by some people's jobs, but it's also within tools and spend. And so sort of that spend is it's expensive to go and get new customers, to get new players, to acquire them. It's called the cost to acquire. It's very high. It's much cheaper, much more cost effective if you can keep the people you already have, the players are already in your database, and get them to spend more. So what we do is at AI level is going to tell you, this is how you're going to keep James involved. This is how you're going to keep Bob involved. This is how you're going to keep Sarah involved. And this is what they want to see. This is where they want you to meet them at, whether it's text message, mobile, in-app push, whatever. They're the ones feeding that. So that's why we say we put the customer first. When you put the customer first, you learn more about them, and then you send the right campaigns versus this is a campaign I want to build because I want to push a certain thing. So that's what's happening. So companies who are looking at costs, they want to learn how can we get more from our existing base because we already have them. I don't need to pay to acquire them.
So we've been asking these questions last year as well, but with the GDPR stuff that happened and affected obviously Android devices and whatnot, and then Apple doing what it did in terms of restricting user, how does it affect your AI models? Has to be, because you've been obviously training them and using them to, for example, analyze player behaviors based on data that you can gather, and now that the kind of data that you can gather is slightly restricted, how has that affected things?
We haven't seen the restriction affect us yet. No. I mean, it may in the future, like obviously, but I don't think it will, just because we have so much history behind it already. We've already been, so involved and the technology has been running for so long. I don't think that that'll have an effect. But we're excited once again to have just overall AI awareness.
It's good to know. Well, we're asking everybody this one. Phil Spencer recently said that Microsoft, he feels like they don't have a big enough presence on mobile. They say they lack capacity or something like that. Basically, they're not big enough, and he wants them to be bigger. Were he to come to you and your group, what would you advise him to do in order to ensure Microsoft and Microsoft Gaming could be big on mobile?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think take a box and learn how to put it in your pocket. I mean, that's what everybody's doing. I mean, if you're not mobile at some point, you're behind the curve. We've known this for, I would say, 20 years, right? So they've got to definitely increase their mobile presence for sure.
Get that Xbox Lite out
Yeah.
immediately. All right, then, good to know. Tara, thank you so much for talking.
Thank you so much, James. Good to see you.